Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today, we'll be looking at the Pan-Asian tech tree, which is exactly what I wanted to do last time I recorded on the weekend, but it wasn't open yet. But now it is, so we're looking at it. The new Pan-Asian tech tree, as you all be aware by now, have mostly destroyers in them. I mean, they have a cruiser at Tier 1, because everybody has a cruiser at Tier 1. But then we are looking at destroyers. Now, two of them we've already known. The Shenyang at Tier 4, because everybody who played the Blitz Pass, even if they didn't purchase it, but who played through the free version of it last month, got that ship. And the Fushun, which was the one you got as a preview if you actually paid money. Yeah, that happened. But these are the two ships that everybody should be somewhat aware of, because you might have seen them in gameplay already. The other ships, not so much quite yet. Now, we're not really going to look at the lower tier ships, because they're not all that interesting. You'll be ending up in Tier 4 very quickly. And we'll be taking a closer look at the Shenyang later. So what is the tech tree like? Well, first of all of these ships were not built by the navies that operated them. These are all Soviet ships, American ships, captured Japanese ships, all sort of things. They're also not all in the same navy. It's a Pan-Asian line, which means we have, I think, Indonesian ships here. We've got we've got a lot of Taiwanese ships here, or Republic of China. We've got some People's Republic of China ships here, and I think there's a Korean one as well. So anyway, if you're interested in the history of them, it's always quite fascinating to read up on these things. But what do they all have in common? Well, let's have a quick look through the line and see if we can find a commonality. So starting Tier 4, we've got the engine accelerator and we've got Deepwater torpedoes. Tier 5, same story, engine, accelerator, Deepwater torps. In Tier 6, with the Fushun, we start getting a smoke generator. So we've got engine accelerator, smoke gen, and Deepwater torpedoes. In Tier 7, we still have the same setup, different ship obviously, more powerful probably, but in terms of consumables. In Tier 8, we start getting a radar. That is interesting, and we'll get to that in a second, why that is. In Tier 9, we still have a radar, and obviously Deepwater torpedoes. And in Tier 10, the same setup. So we're heading down a line which eventually gets engine boost, smoke, and radars. Now, one thing that you have to be aware about these Deepwater torpedoes, and it says right here, but I'm mentioning it because the sheer amount of times, I mean, everyone's been playing the Tier 4, the Shenyang. The sheer amount of times today that people have been trying to torpedo me when I was in a destroyer with Deepwater torpedoes is absolutely mind-boggling. So, public service announcement. In case you haven't noticed by now, Deepwater torpedoes don't work on destroyers. If you're in any Pan-Asian destroyer from the tech tree line, and you're trying to torpedo another destroyer, you're not going to have much success, because they're literally just going to pass underneath them and not do anything. Deepwater torpedoes only work against things that aren't destroyers, so cruisers, battleships, and carriers. They work very well. They're usually quite quick. They hit pretty hard. They're less easy to spot, although we don't know by how much. But they don't work against destroyers. So if you're in a Pan-Asian destroyer and you see another destroyer, well, there's two things you can do. You can either run away, or you can get your guns out and start gunning them down. But you cannot torpedo them. So don't try. Well, unless you want to continue amusing me, because I find that absolutely hilarious. Anyway, moving on. So Deepwater torpedoes. Why am I mentioning this? Because we're getting a radar. Now, what is a radar good for? A radar is good for, well, finding other destroyers, obviously, and for spotting ships that are in smoke. Now, finding other destroyers isn't super useful if you're in a Pan-Asian destroyer, because you have Deepwater torpedoes. So you might be able to spot the enemy destroyer a lot earlier than he spots you, but there's very little you can do about that other than open fire with your guns. Which is not that bad in itself, right? Don't get me wrong. This is not a terrible thing to do. But it's not like you're in a Cleveland, right, where when you spot a destroyer, that destroyer is very much dead because there's very little they can do to escape you, because you have a hydro, so you can't be torped, and you have a radar, so you can see them, and they cannot run away very quickly because the Cleveland is actually rather fast. So this is a utility radar. This is not so much a make personal use of radar, but it's more of a radar that's really quite useful for helping your team. So I think we might be able to use this a lot more effectively if we have some other players around. Like if we're accompanying a cruiser that is, say, not an American light cruiser, or even if it is, just make sure you're coordinated and you're not radaring both at the same time. But you can spot enemy destroyers for your cruisers, which is really going to start hurting people. I mean, honestly, the American destroyer line starts looking a lot less interesting every time this happens, because they can't hide anymore because of all the radars and everything showing up. Anyway, so that's certainly an interesting aspect. And yes, other than that, we've got the Deepwater torpedoes. And, most of us will probably going to start at the Shenyang. Some of us have already the Fushun, so we're progressing towards the Gajah-Mada. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, because I don't even know where that thing is from, so because I haven't looked into it yet. But the Shenyang, let's talk about the Shenyang. The reason I'm filtering this here a little bit is because the Shenyang was originally a Minekaze class destroyer. It gets even better. The Shenyang was the Nomikaze? I'm not 100% sure, but she was one of the last 3 out of a planned batch of 20 of the Minekaze class destroyers, which were built after the First World War by the Japanese and were relatively advanced for their time. They were not that advanced anymore by the time the Second World War broke out, but there was still plenty of them. So the last, I think 3 of them or 4, the last batch, they built them a bit differently. They had a different torpedo layout and gun arrangement. So if we look at the actual Minekaze, she had the torpedo launchers in the two launchers in the rear and one in the front, whereas the Shenyang has them kind of has one in the front, one in the rear, and has the gun layout slightly different. That was, well, because she was a bit of a later model, and they did some improvements for the gun firing angles and everything. But how did she get into Taiwanese hands? Well, the Japanese lost the war, and she was first used by the Americans, occupying forces in Japan, and then she was handed over to Taiwan afterwards. And that's pretty much where the similarities end, because this is very much, so you could say, hey, well, this is a Minekaze at tier 4. Well, it isn't. The hull is, but that's pretty much where it ends. Because what the Japanese did when they were about to lose the war and they really, really didn't have anything else to do, they retrofitted, they took all the guns out, most of the torpedo tubes, put a lot of anti-aircraft things in it, and made this a setup for launching suicide torpedoes, which were literally torpedoes with some poor soul stuck in them, who was guiding them to target. Yes, that was a thing. The Japanese did that. Not just planes, they had suicide torpedoes. They also had suicide boats, which were basically surfaced suicide torpedoes, little motorboats with lots of bombs on them. But in general, the idea was to strap as many explosives as possible to a person and have them slam themselves into the enemy in the hopes of making things too costly for the Americans to continue, which of course resulted in the end for the Americans dropping very, very big explosive onto Japan and ending the whole thing once and for all, but that's a different story. Anyway, so when she was handed over to Taiwan, and I haven't been able to find much information about it, but when she was handed over to Taiwan, she obviously didn't come with suicide torpedoes equipped. But given that they had ripped all the Japanese equipment out, or well, the Japanese had done that themselves, she gets, it says she's a Minekaze class, and yes, she is. She gets well, around about this a comparable amount of hit points and defense. So the hull is similar. She is rather quick with almost 40 knots and is very maneuverable. But she doesn't get the Minikaze's 120mm Japanese naval guns. She gets the, and I'm pretty sure they're American, 127mm guns. And these guns are not bad at all. Let's actually compare them a little. So let's switch over here. So what we've got the main guns. The Minikaze's guns have a 7.5 second reload, a 6.6 kilometer range, and do about 347 and 358 respectively. The Shenyang does the same amount of damage, but has a 6-second reload and a 7.3 kilometer range. So these are American destroyer guns, which also means that you can actually fire armor piercing with them against other destroyers, which is quite important when you're fighting other destroyers, at least at close range. The armor piercing works reasonably well, although the amount of damage is really not a big difference, and being able to set them on fire is not terrible as well, so you're fine either way. But just be aware, these are probably American guns. The torpedoes, well, they're probably not Japanese, because the Minikaze had 7.5 kilometer range on them. The Shenyang only has a 6.3 kilometer range. And given the surface detection that she shares with the Minikaze of 5.82 kilometers, you can't really stealth torp in this thing. In the Minikaze you can, not so much in the Shenyang. So, well, what can you do with this ship? Well, let's have a look. Elite bonus, I've put in the torpedo reload booster. The other one would have been fine as well, but it gives us a bit of a torpedo reload, because we are at tier 4 and we can't fit the torpedo modification in yet to actually increase our reload speed. So that sounded like a nice option. I've got the main battery traverse in because, yeah, you're in a destroyer, you're gonna need it. I actually have the propulsion mod in here because she is very maneuverable to begin with, so I can use that to make her accelerate. And I've got the speed mod in here as well to make her a bit quicker. The commander is I've just put a random commander in, but obviously if you want to train up a commander for the line and you're starting early on, be aware of the things that you're going to get further up in the line. Anyway, what is this ship like? Well, let's go and have a game and see if anybody's going to try to torpedo us with Deepwater torpedoes. All right, looks like we're top tier. There's another Shenyang on the enemy team. St. Louis, Danae, Svetlana, lots of cruisers. And one Kaiser. Okay, let's see. We're playing Sand and Sea. So, lower tier map. We'll see how this turns out. We will probably head towards that little island that's right ahead of us. Now, we don't have the greatest concealment because I was too cheap to actually buy the camo from the shop for this one. So the American destroyer is, the Japanese destroyer is going to outspot me, but the other Shenyang's probably not. So let's see, we'll head over here and see what we can do around here. Okay, I'm spotted, so the Izukaze is over there. There he is. Slammer in reverse and use the guns. Remember, the Deepwater torpedoes don't work against destroyers, so there's no point in using them. Is he dropping? He might have dropped torpedoes on me. Now the high explosive here on these guns works reasonably. No, he's dropped one of the cruisers. The high explosive on these guns works reasonably well. You can use armor piercing at close range as well, but it's really not going to make a huge amount of difference. Now there's a St. Louis, so let's get an island between him and me, just in case he has any kind of funny ideas. And there's a Kaiser. Now, is the Kaiser paying any attention? I'm spotted, obviously, but is he seeing me or is he busy with something else? And let's drop torpedoes here. Just as we can. Yeah, he's seen me, so these are probably going to miss because he's probably slowing down or turning in. And I think I set one into the island. But our Svetlana feels suicidal and is rushing a full health Kaiser over there. So I'm just going to get back here. Let's see if we can do something with that St. Louis in the meantime. And then I'll just, we set him on fire. And then I'm just going to go the other way around. Does he damage con it? He does. Can I set him on fire again? Probably not right now because the damage con is still active. Let's just go around the other side and see if we can drop some more torps into that Kaiser. So, if you're in a battleship, and there are lots of things with torpedoes around here, you don't want to get that close to islands, but Okay, there we go. Is he gonna stop reversing? I'm always not sure with lower tiers. I mean, in upper tiers, I would have definitely waited. Well, sorry for that. I was in the way. Yeah, he's accelerating again, so I'm just getting 3 hits in. In lower tiers, I'm always not sure if people actually know to do that. More often than not, they don't. Oh, hello. Hello, Mr. Shenyang. Are you trying to torpedo me? Kaboom? Yes, you're trying. Look. Deepwater torpedoes, all right? Not working against destroyers. Don't try it. So in lower tiers, I'm always not sure with if people can actually dodge torpedoes or not. So I'm assuming they can't, mostly. Mostly I'm right. But that's St. Louis I'm broadsiding right now. So you might get funny ideas. So let's see what we can do. My torpedoes are already reloaded. The guns turn around relatively quickly. So let's see if we can rush this tier 3 cruiser. He doesn't look like he's gonna dodge. He's gonna broadside me. So here, have some torpedoes. And, well, I still don't want to be hit by him because these guns hurt. So, almost. Okay, excuse me, I'll just get my guns turned around. There you go. And that's that. Okay, what's it look like? 4-4, we're 10 points behind. So let's just start cupping. Our battleship over there is probably dead with 3 cruisers. Our other cruiser is kind of over there, and our other destroyer is hiding behind that island from I don't know what. Oh, Izukaze. Oh, hello. Yeah, we could do with sinking that one. Can we invite you to come over here? Because the Dana is relatively low. He's going stealth. Can we invite you? I'll just shoot my guns so you can see me. And then, can you shoot your guns as well, please? Because my torpedoes won't do anything against you. Oh, they're cupping as well. Okay, there he comes. Hello. Yeah, your torpedo's not effective. Sorry, my torpedo's not effective. So I'm going to use guns if you don't mind. He seems to be busy with the Danae anyway, so I'm setting him on fire. Now, we are points behind. We have lost the battleship, so we need to sink something like that Izukaze over there. And we're still behind in points, but we're capping, which means the enemy team has no points income right now. There comes the Svetlana, and he's full health. Oh dear. Okay, I'm hidden, but I'm still gonna cap. But they're also capping us, and I don't think we can cap them out. Like a second more. Oh, 1 tick more, and we would have had it. Damn it. Anyway, I'm very low on health, and now, okay, we're even on points, so I need to get out of here. Heal, run, engine boost, ow, no fires, no, bad Svetlana. Okay, he takes 2 torps, I think, or just 1, no, 2. I'm on 400 health, I need to get out of here, because we're leading in points, and if I die, and that Clemson looks pretty suicidal, if I die, we're behind on points, so that's no good. So let's get out of here very quickly. I'm going to use the Danae as cover so he can't lock onto me. Is he going to shoot anymore? No, I think the Clemson got him. Okay, well done, the Clemson. Whew, that could have gone either way. So now we are ahead on points. And yeah, the enemy team is not going to... The cruiser that capped is not going to make it here anymore. And there's 1 more cruiser coming our way. But even if I die now, it's fine, so I can actually... Oh, it's a bot. Okay. So as long as I'm not the closest target, I should be okay. So just don't fire the guns. Drop some torpedoes in case the bot decides to turn directly into them. And then just make ourselves scarce. Because we are on 400 health, so we're literally a one-shot for that thing. But yeah, he's more interested in the Clemson. And the torpedo's missing, so that's all good. Anyway, yes, that. Don't try to torpedo destroyers with Deepwater torpedoes. It doesn't work. Use your guns, or be elsewhere, because they can't hurt you either. So, except with the guns. Okay, yeah, the Shenyang. What is she like? Well, she is fun. So far, I'm extremely enjoying this line. These American destroyer guns are great. They have a great rate of fire. They're great 170 millimeter guns, and the torpedoes work pretty well as well against other ships, except for destroyers, really, because that's not going to happen. But against everything else, they hit pretty hard. They reload reasonably quickly. And yeah, she's a fun ship. I really don't mind this ship. She's a fun ship to play in Tier 4. And, well, the Tier 6 is great as well. So we'll see when... I probably skip over the Tier 5 because I already have the Tier 6 one. So when I'm at Tier 7, I'll report back in and then we'll see what this is all like. But until then, I hope you enjoyed the new line and I'll see you all next time. Thank you and goodbye.